Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield talking to some of my favourite people. And we've got one for you today. Dr Linda Papadopoulos is one of my favourite people. She knows everything about love, relationships, and of course the mucky business as well. And at this time of Love Island syndrome, we must discuss why can't people fall in love. Dr Linda joins us on the programme now. How are you, Linda?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Isn't this time of year marvellous? We get to see people semi-naked walking the streets, yet it seems still half of us can't find love.
Well, yeah, and we've been doing some research. I've been working in this area for a while. We did some research recently with Eharmony, which is a dating website. We looked at 2,000 people with YouGov and looked at how people are dating, right? What are the sort of themes that are happening? And it's fascinating because a lot of the things came up are some of those things that are being depicted on what we see on Love Island, right? So this idea that, quantity over quality, the more people I date, the better, because actually that'll give me some idea of what's going on. When we know actually, dating a pool of people that you're, more likely to be compatible with will serve you better in the long run than just lots of people for the sake of it. This notion of missing out, right? So I'm really happy now, but there's all this choice and maybe I'm missing out, and that means I shouldn't invest what I'm in, which again is played out night after night. And even sort of things like what we've called the Hollywood complex, this kind of over valuation of people based on how they look. So 77% of the people we asked said that physical appearance was at the top of their list. And look, of course it's important to find someone physically attractive, but as we've seen in research and indeed on vacuous TV shows, that's often not enough.
Yeah, I was watching it for the first time on Sunday night. I had a 21-year-old round with me who's obsessed, and I do worry. I'm a deeply unattractive man, and there's not much downstairs, Dr. Linda. I've told you this before. And I look at that program, and it's so unrelatable. These guys have got six-packs and huge arms and huge private parts, and there I am sat watching it. What is this doing mentally to a generation who are believing that this is the most important? Because it's tragic in a way, isn't it, that we're 100% facade and 0% personality, wit and humour.
Do you know what? I watched the show with my daughter, and I've got to say, one of the things that I found interesting was kind of that exact lesson, right? So I watched it from the beginning, and you see these really beautiful people come in, boys and girls, and immediately you find them so attractive, but it's really fascinating that very early on, if you find that they're unpleasant people, that they're unkind, that they're not very bright, that attractiveness does go down. And I think it's been great watching it with a kid, that you're a teenager, you're able to kind of discuss this with, because the fact of the matter is that you're absolutely right. We live in an era of to swipe left if you don't like someone, and there's so much on tap, and it's so visual. But actually, one of the things we know is that 2 dimensions aren't enough. The problem is, I feel, just getting past that, feeling sort of entitled to be with someone that maybe doesn't fit the mold. And I think that's what I worry about. I think we've begun to see our partners as status symbols, right? So in the same way you drive a certain car, have a certain watch, you want your guy or your girl to look a certain way, oftentimes to the detriment of your own mental health. And I think having these discussions is important for that reason.
And I am jealous. People will say, oh, it's because you look at these couples and you wish for them. Of course I do. But I wonder what they do when they get home and they take off the slap and they take off the skinny white jeans and all that business. You've got to have more there. And then you add in the porn element that everybody's so obsessed with. It's as if we've lost complete touch with reality. I look at my mum and dad and they were just so ordinary. 2 people who met in a pub and 50 years later are still together. I wonder whether these people are dinosaurs.
Well, look, I think one of the biggest problems that we have today is that there is a lot of choice out there with everything, right? With holidays and food and, plastic surgery and jobs. And the overwhelming response to choice is, what if I've made the wrong decision? Now, this wasn't around during your mother and father's era, right? So, it wasn't around even until recently. And I think that's one of the reasons why I think a lot of people now find it difficult to date, because even if they are happy, the fear is that they're missing out on something. And it's kind of a very insidious thing, because it doesn't hit you immediately, but it does eat away. So I think, you have a point there.
Oh, it's so sad. I looked in the mirror earlier. I thought, Shrek, good morning. It's just depressing. I mean, you could never fancy an ugly ginger fella like me, could you, Dr. Linda? It's depressing.
Well, you sound like you have a lovely personality, but like the whole self-deprecation thing is not working for you. You need to own it, my friend.
I was watching this Love Island and I just thought, oh, it's not worth it. I'll put a bag over my head and stick to my own self.
Oh.
You know.
Do you know what? We will have a deep and meaningful therapy session. We'll get you feeling better about yourself, and you're going to slam it at it. Don't you worry.
I was listening to you on Sunday, nicking my act. There you are doing radio now, and you're very good at it. Is this something that you'd like to do more of? Because radio is a tricky thing to master, isn't it? As many prove.
Well, yeah, no, it's, you know what, it's a lot of fun. Like, I guess for me, whether I'm seeing patients or lecturing or speaking, I mean, I guess talking is part of what I do, and it's really interesting. I think that the key with radio, though, is like you say, I guess it's asking those questions, whereas on TV, I think because it's a more visual medium, again, interesting, like we're talking, you can get away with things being a little bit more light. And I don't know if you found this over the years, but I think just the fact that the medium of radio, I think, makes people open up more. Do you find that when you have guests on the show?
Absolutely, because they're not looking at you. They feel like they're in an intimate surrounding, and they'll tell you anything, especially the later on in the day you are, or at weekends when people are relaxing. It's brilliant.
That's fascinating. No, I found that too.
I wonder what you feel about people attention seeking. I was looking at the papers today and going down my Twitter feed. Isn't it interesting now how people are doing more and more outrageous, ridiculous things to get headlines? Does this give people fulfillment, or are you just selling yourself short and selling yourself up the river when you're looking for attention, for affirmation, for likes with seemingly no return?
Well, this is it. So if you kind of think of the new metric for success, it's eyes on you. We've all become products now. And, you know, these young people that are going on, so, you know, these shows, a lot of the conversations are around followers on Instagram, on, you know, different platforms. And the reason for this is because, A, they can monetize it, so that's understandable. But B, I think, sadly, it has become a metric for self-worth. And I think that's quite worrying because, you know, as anyone knows that has been in the media for any length of time, they don't have to be in the media, just as anyone knows it's been on social media, these things are very fickle. And my worry is that, you know, these young people, they go on these shows, they get a lot of fame, but that very quickly turns to infamy. And then when the eyes aren't on you anymore, if that's where you've placed your self-worth, you begin to have a really sort of precarious sense of who you are, and your self-esteem goes. And
I also think it's not credible. I think you should be known for being good, not for having big knockers or a big willy or those sort of things. It's a very interesting place we're at in 2018, and I'm sure we'll discuss it more and more as the months go on. Dr Linda Papadopoulos is on Talk Radio, and she's here talking Eharmony today. Place to find true love. Are gingers allowed, by the way?
Yeah, can I just say that number one hair color in the U.S. is red. It's only in this country where there's this thing with ginger that it's not true of anywhere else as far as I can see. So, yeah, absolutely.
You know what they say, Dr. Linda, a rusty roof equals a damp basement. I'll leave it with you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thanks, Linda. I appreciate that.